Hi everyone, welcome back. And those that follow the channel know that we've been taking a look at some bits and pieces from Tapp Airsoft. So we did the AAP, we did the G5 as well. And there's those of you that have been following know we've got one more to go. And this is probably going to be the most tricky of the three. So I kind of left it till last. But these actually run, well, the AAP and the MP9 one, which I'm about to do, run on ARP9 mags. So they stick out the bottom here. I'm not a massive fan of how much these stick out. These are the G&G ones. These are the quad stacks. So this, I believe, actually holds, 170 rounds. So if you was putting this in your ARP9, most of it would go up into the receiver. You'd only have like so much sticking out. It doesn't look daft. Now, on a pistol though, or an SMG, it sticks out a fair bit because you need HPA conversion and then there's not much space for the mag to clip in. So what I've done, I did invest in magazines for this endeavour. I managed to get myself, I originally ordered one of these clear mags, but when I ordered it with fire support, they didn't have it and they said, do you want to take a black one instead? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's the same mag. I actually modified this one to fit in the sub 5, but this was the one that I originally wanted. And because it's clear, we can actually show you how this thing works. So let me pour some BBs into this thing. So you'll see they stack kind of strange in the top. So you go from single to double stack, and that opens up, and you'll see they feed in like that. So they call it quad stack. I'm just going to keep loading these in here to show you. They call it quad stack because you've got 4 stacks which are dual fed. So technically you could call this the octa stack, but I mean, I suppose not quad stack, but you've got 8 channels in here. So 4 quad times 2, 8 channels of BBs coming up, and then they filter in very magically in, one at a time to give you 1 round at the top. Now these big mags, as I shoot BBs everywhere, don't worry, they're only 0.2s because I'm having to cram everything on a 0.2 for a weekend game I've got coming up. I just thought, I'm taking a load of MWSs, let's build the MP9. I know this is a big build up to the MP9, but my point is, I bought these. Now, these are the same sort of quad style stack mags, but they're almost half the length. These still hold 68 rounds, and the reason why I've gone and got a bunch of these is because they still hold like 70 odd rounds. They don't stick out very far. So these are going to be perfect. Now, G&G have done very well with the design of these mags, and I did pick up a bunch of these. One thing I will say, they're not cheap. I think these are like 40 quid. I can't remember on these, like 20 or 30. I kind of wish the small mags were translucent, clear translucent like this instead of smoked, but it is what it is. So let's get these out the way, and we can get on to the MP9. So here is my KWA MP9. I kind of kitted this up to maybe take with me on the weekend game, which is why it kind of looks a little bit weird. I got Hollison on there. I've had to use this older Olight mount because it's the only Olight I've got that has a rail mount, and MP9s seem to love rails for some reason. Older technology, but or older style. But yeah, I've got it set up very simply. So I'm just going to pull these bits and pieces off. Now, I do prefer the MP9s having the grip on the bottom rather than the rails. Problem with these suppressors, when you try and take them off, they unwind like that. So I much prefer the MP9s that, I'm just going to take this off, have this grip, this integrated grip. And what I've found with the Tapp design is you have an integrated rail. There we go. You have an integrated rail on the hybrid lower. So and I've searched high and low in this house to try and find some kind of vertical grip, because all my grips have M-LOK, because M-LOK is the future. But we're going to cross that bridge when we get to it. So let's pull all this stuff off and get it out of the way, because we're going to need to strip this down anyway. And apologies if this is a long video. I tried to include the story behind this stuff and why I do it, so we can follow along. So let's make this easier for ourselves, take all the accessories off. And there you have your base MP9. So what we need to do, we need to strip this apart first before we can put it into the lower. But let's take a look at the lower. Comes to you like this. You have a box, say a bag, not a box, of some accessory bits. I've already shown this off on the channel, but it's basically taking an air-fed line into here. It has like a built-in magazine top at the top, which you can enjoy your MP9 in all its gas blowback glory, but it's HPA fed, so you don't suffer from cooldown, and MP9s do now and again suffer from that. And we can fit these little dinky mags and have 70 round mags instead of like, 48 rounds. Now with these adapters, you need to preload the tube. So what you'd do is you'd fill your mag with BBs, put it in, that would load the tube up to here. And then what I would suggest is take your mags out and top them back up again, because it will retain the BBs. And you have got a little tab that you can push there to release them, which I recommend you do to make sure you don't have any negligent discharges. But I think they do come with an adapter as well, so you can change out the mag release. So I believe it's got like a separate piece in there, so you can swap this out, and then that enables you to use EPM ARP9 mags, which are ridiculously long, which I wouldn't recommend doing. But if you've got a load of them lying around, the geometry is just a little bit different compared to the G&G and the normal ARP9 mags. So we're going to strip this thing down, and to do this, very simple. We need a little flathead, which I should have one here, because we've got a screw. Fold the stock so you can see this. We've got a screw just in the end here. We'll just remove this screw. I'm not sure if it's the same on the real one. I'm guessing it's probably not. And then we can push this pin at the back, which is your spring guide. And then when that's pushed in, we can lever this off. And you have to be careful, because that spring guide doesn't always like to sit in its retainer. It likes to come with the top, or it's kind of done half and half there, just be careful. So in an ideal world, it would sit there like that, and you pretty much could fire it like this, though I wouldn't recommend it. So we can pull our spring out, cock this back so the hammer's out of the way. And to strip the front, it's very easy. If you guys have know your way around an MP9, they've been out for ages now. You push that tab forward, it allows you to pull the barrel pin out. Once that barrel pin's out, you can take this spring and this bracket. Now you do need to take note, so you've got a slot on one side, so a long slot, and then you've just got a little semicircle cut out there, and that's the way it goes. The other way that you can tell with these is the way that they're stamped. So you see how the edges are rounded here? If I flip it over, the edges are sharp. You always want the sharp edges down. And then after this, we can pull the two tabs down on here, and that enables us to push the bolt further forward than what it usually does, and it clears the frame here. So once you've done that and you've pushed it forward, you can just give this system a wiggle, and it will usually bring this piece with it. Sometimes that'll stay in the receiver, and that's just your feed ramp for your hop unit, and that just sort of goes in very much like that. So with that pulled out, we can start stripping this down. So I'm going to pull the trigger spring out first. We need to remove this. Now, if you have the railed MP9, you will have two screws, one here and one here. So you remove those two screws, you pull the rail off, and then you have access to the screw at the bottom. Now, I don't have the railed version. I have the grip version, because it's the one I preferred. So I'm hoping that I can reach this. It's a 4mm Allen key, and we just spin this out, and I'm hoping I can still reuse this screw, because I know the railed version has a slightly different screw. There we go. We can pull this front bracket piece out, and again with this, see how I pulled it out? It's got the 4 circles. Those 4 circles point towards the rear. Now you have a spring behind this lever, and we're just going to push this spring down with some kind of tool so we can get it out the way of this bar. And basically we want to push the bar and push it sideways, much like a G17 or other Glock variants in the airsoft world, that is. So just push that out the way. This will lever up. We can pull this out again. Take note of the stamping of this piece. It might not matter, but I always like to put things back in the way it came. You've got sharp edges, you've got rounded edges, so rounded edges will point you to the back, and we'll just keep that in mind. We can pull the spring that sits under that out as well. Now we need to pull out the trigger bar, but to do that we're going to have to remove this main body pin here, which can be easier said than done. Been a long time since I've done one of these, so I just put a screwdriver in that E-clip at the back and just push it out the way and then lever it out like so. With that done, we can remove this piece at the back here. I'm going to use my Aramax because my kinetic driver's downstairs. I like to keep one of these handy screwdrivers just a little bit everywhere in case I'm doing some prototyping at my desk or something like that. So a Phillips screwdriver. We'll pull this out. We're just going to slide this bracket out, and this holds in the trigger bar like that. We can actually keep the screw with it there. With that removed, we're going to get onto the trigger bar itself, but before we do that we need to punch this pin out, and you might have to sort of wiggle this up and down. So usually okay with the front and back motion as long as it clears it there, but you might have to push it down. If we do that, we should be able to punch this pin out. I just press it, I just get like a hard tool and just press it like that, and it should push it out there. We can go to a slightly smaller one, push that body pin out, out it comes. Now with the trigger bar itself, usually I found it easier if we push this disconnector forward like that, and then we should be able to pull the trigger and activate the hammer. Usually I've found that it's easy with the hammer up like this. Again, I'm going off some old memory here. We pull the trigger bar into the center and we should be able to push it upwards. Just push that piece down there as well, like that. And then with the hammer forward, I can just actuate it with my thumb to get it out the way and get this piece out, because you don't want to force it because you might damage it. And we can keep all that together. After that, I can remove the selector, which is dead simple. We just put something in here for it to clear. Might need a bigger flathead here to clear out the way as we get this little plastic tab out of the way, he says while struggling. Again, you might want to use a tool to help you like that. Once you've got it started, you should be able to push it out all the way. Just remember its orientation, the hook goes towards the front. We don't really need to worry about the mag release because it's got a different mag release on the new kit, but we do need to get all this part out the back. So I'm hoping I've got the right size Allen key. 0.9mm Allen key, and you've got these two little holes. You've got one here and you've got one here, and these retain these faux pins. Now you see how I can do this without having to have it on the screwdriver? They don't take much force at all, so I'm just going to use the bit. And you can't force a 1mm Allen key in there. If that's something that you have to use a 0.9. So just make sure you got the correct size for the job. I mean, you can buy 0.9mm Allen keys. I remember years ago, I think I bought a pack of like 20 of them for like £5 off eBay. And as you do, I took one out. That was the only one I ever used. And then I took the other 19 that was in the pack, and God knows what I did with it. So with those two out, we now need to pull out these faux body pins. So I'm going to cock the hammer back because I need to get in. I'm going to try and, you'll see on this pin there's like a little flat edge, like a little pocket, and that's designed to be held in by those grub screws. So I'm going to try and just lever this out here, which has managed to do it. So as this pin goes in, that little slot there is what the little grub screw goes in to hold it in. So we've got one that side, and we've got one this side. Now the one on this side is a little bit harder to get to. So if you've got like a small flathead, sometimes you can get in like that and just push it. Once you've like levered that by pushing that slot, it will push the pin out enough where you can then get like a little tool behind it and then just lever it out. Once that's out, we should be able to pull this carrier group out now, or the trigger group out. This is just one of those things where you use the body, take a nice big flathead and lever it up. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Like I say, don't rate me too much because it has been a long time since I've done one of these. It's just very tight in there, so you do have to just be careful. I'm wondering if I've got enough purchase there to grab this rear section. There we go. Just be very careful. So that's come out. Do it in an area where if something does jump out, you're not going to lose it. Now you've got a little stopper and a spring, which if you just flip that over, you can pull that out. I believe that part just keeps tension on the trigger bar. We're going to pull out these 2 screws here. So 1, and I'm probably not going to get in there with that tool, so I'm going to switch to a manual one. And 2. The way that I used to pull these out is I used to do it with a set of pliers and just grab as much on it as you can and just give it the slightest of wiggles as you try and pull it, and it should just edge itself out like that. So that's your sear that sits there. Apart from the stock that needs to come off, I'm pretty sure that's everything. So we can come back to the stock in a moment and focus on what's important here. So I believe with this we do have to actually strip it apart. These are Torx. So let's find the correct Torx here, because I believe what we need to do is we need to strip this one. This screwdriver is set to a low torque setting, so we're not going to strip anything out. So it's not, with this there's a bit of a nuance to it, so you can't just strip all this stuff out and then just dump it in. So we've got 2 screws there, we have 2 inside here. And the screwdriver cuts out, it's just hitting its Torx limit. Which I could just turn the Torx limit off, but I like to keep it where it is, more for when I'm tightening things up. The only criticism I have of this kit so far is it would have been nice if all these screws were black and not silver. Silver is just a little bit garish on such a nice matted grey colour. And if this is MJF, you can actually dye MJF black. So I'm not sure why they didn't do that. Maybe just to cut down on the cost. There's a little pin there under where the airline goes. So we just tap that pin out and then we should be able to drop the lower section off like that. Easy as that. Right, now we can start assembling. Again, this isn't like we can just throw it all in. There's a few little nuances which I'll try to cover best I can as I go. So we've got our little sear section there at the back. Just going to put these screws in, and you're screwing into plastic, so as you screw you need to put down like a bit of force to like make the threads, but then as you feel the screwdriver bottom out, don't try and torque it. Take your screwdriver, bit of downwards pressure to get it started. It'll start to thread in and then just go till you feel resistance and then stop. So that's in. We've got this little spring and the stopper here which drops straight into there. Then we can drop this carrier in. I'm going to drop the auto sear there, or the disconnector, and basically this spring wants to sit in this little channel here. So you've got a little channel, that's where the spring sits. So you should be pretty easy to do. I say this was going to be the hardest. Honestly, I don't think it will be. That G5 trigger box was something else. I think this is just a little bit more tricky, which I'll get to when we get that far. So we can put these fake body pins in, just push them flush, and take our little 0.9mm grub screw, and we can screw this in here. Again, we don't need a lot of force, just go till it stops, and that's enough. You can push this body pin in here. That one's just got a bit more resistance on it, so I'm just going to use a metal tool rather than destroy my thumbs, just to push that in flush like that. Our other little grub screw. Hopefully you haven't lost any components by this point. And we can thread this in. So it stops at the bottom there, and then we can stop. Now remember order of operations. What do we need next? So I think it's the trigger bar to go in next. So we can slide this in. I'm just going to play around with the hammer here to get it out the way. Let that slot into place, and we're just going to go in and to the side like that. There you have it. We can test it by pushing forward the disconnector and just pulling the trigger, if it'll let me. There we go. So that's all in. Next, we're going to put the lower on, I believe. First, we can put the little holder for the trigger bar, and you'll just have to sort of push in on some diagonal trajectory just to get this to sit under that part there like that. I'm going to go back to my little screwdriver, and again we're making threads in the plastic, so we get it started, we screw it down. This one doesn't give you as much of a positive stop as the others, but that should be plenty. Make sure we've got plenty of room behind there, which we have. Why isn't that letting me pull the trigger? There we go. Does feel a little bit rough. I think what's happened is I've maybe gone a little bit too tight. Yeah, it's a little bit too tight on that piece. We've got our main pin, which we can slide in at the back here. Line this all up, and hopefully this will go in without a bother, like that. And then we can take our little E-clip and try and slot it in on that little pin. Fail miserably, at least once or twice. So we're just going to give that pin a tap. There we go, it fits in a little bit better. Push that. It goes on really easily, to be honest, with how funny clips are to use. I'm just going to spin it round so it can't jump off. We don't want to put this in yet. We can put the trigger spring on though, because we're going to need the help of that in a moment. So we just pull that over that tab there. Check everything's nice and smooth, which it is. Check it works. Push the disconnector. Yeah, works just fine. Right, so we need to put the lower half back on. So we can push that into place. Pin in the back section. Tap this back home. Like that. We want to leave these two screws out, but we can put the two screws from the centre, and they're stainless so they don't want to align themselves. It said stainless, but it's stuck to that, so what I'm going to do, fail miserably a couple of times, place it in like that. Screw it all the way down as far as I can go with this, and then I'm going to follow it up with an actual T10 screwdriver, because we need to make sure these screws are flush. So I'll push this back in here, like so. It's quite a bit of a tight squeeze with this screwdriver. I'm going to grab a T10, and I'm just making sure that the screw heads are flush, which they are mostly. Just going to give a little bit of an extra turn because you want that nice and free to push this selector back in. And it's going to get a little bit wedged there, so we'll just use a screwdriver just to help it out slightly, like that. That works just fine. And the reason that we've left these screws out before we go and put everything back on is because we actually need to stretch this a little bit, so we can put on the takedown tab. So we're going to push this up and over, back in, like that. It's just a bit tight in this receiver. We can put in the front block. Now, is this screw going to be okay? We shall find out. I can change this out for a countersunk. I'm sure I've got one somewhere. Yeah, so it comes a little bit proud there. When Tapp do their installation guide, they are using the railed one, so there will be a little bit of difference. Do I have anything of the correct size? It looks like an M5 to me. At the moment, we can use a M5 by 12 cap head. Not ideal, but I'll just have to get something ordered. This goes in just fine. To be honest, that one probably would have been fine. It just stuck out on the threads here a little bit. There's plenty of meat on there, so an M5 by 12 countersunk screw is going to be the best. But problem solved. Sometimes these things crop up and you've just got to solve them as they present themselves. So we've left these 2 screws out. We're going to take these other 4 out. Do you know what? Let's turn the torque up on that to 5. Rather than pedaling the button. So these 4 screws out. This guide is probably going to be longer than Tapp's, but I thought it'd be good to do it because you guys get to follow it along, and it's kind of done from the perspective of someone that hasn't done one before. And of course Tapp designed these things, so I bet they pull a lot of them apart. So a bit of a noob perspective doing this. So once those are out, you see this can stretch, because what's going to need to happen, because the feed lips and everything on here are fitted and the screws are bound in from here, we can't fit that piece last. So what we actually have to do to get the nozzle and everything over it, we have to actually hit it at an angle, because if we try to just hit it in directly, the feed lips are getting in the way, it wouldn't work. So we can put this on. I'm not sure whether that has to be in the lower or it can be on the bolt. We can start it on this side. I think it's probably best, thinking about it, that this piece is put in the lower first, because we can stretch it out to slot that in. That's no drama. This is now like fixed in place, so it's not really needed, but we do need it for the feed ramp. And then we're going to take this on like we're going to fit it as normal, but we're going to have to angle it, and we're angling it to get it past the feed lips. So the way that we want to do this is start it off on the pinch of the frame there, or this rail. Push the disconnector forward so we can get that in behind it like that, and then we can push that down. That goes into place. The barrel will lock into the bracket here that sits in the lower, and now this part's working. It stops the bolt coming too far forward. So what we can do, we can fit our screws back in. Just going to go most of the way with this. So I don't strip the plastic, because then we're on a bit of an issue, aren't we? Put that in. Got another one here. Whack this one in. Some of you guys say you don't like this compared to the kinetic driver, but my God, does it make my job easier. And releases the impact on my wrists from doing all this stuff. So I'll whack this in. T10 screwdriver, nip that up. It's just I can gauge with my hands like how much I'm tightening this up, because I don't want to strip them out. You know, you can strip metal threads, let alone plastic, so just be very careful with it. That's that put back in together. We're in on that. We need to take this piece here, we can put the spring back in if it wants to comply like that, and we're just going to hold it each side. Soft edges pointing upwards. That's the easiest way to determine it. And then we're going to go, and these springs do like to fly out, so just be careful. Push that in. And whenever I push these in, I always keep my thumb above this part, this leg of the spring. And what that does is it stops it wanting to fly out. You've got a pin here, and you've got a flat edge. That flat edge needs to be on the left-hand side to work properly. You'll also tell because you've got a flat edge on the pin here where it butts up against this bracket. Push that in and you see we're now good to go. With that in, we take our upper. First we're going to put the recoil spring back in. The early MP9s used to put these recoil springs in, and these pieces, these steel plates at the back, were not manufactured right, so these would never sit in. They would always sit in like that, and you'd get the back of the MP9s pop up all the time, but obviously it's no longer an issue. So we're going to get the back of the upper, we're going to go over that pin and then pull it forward, and then that enables us to pull the front of the MP9 over. You'll hear the pin has popped back into place. Now, to make sure this pin's correct, it needs to protrude from the body. If this pin is not protruding from the body, these can actually like maneuver up. With that done, we take our little screw from before and we thread that in to place. Don't use too big of a screwdriver or you'll munch up all this plastic. I was worried how it was going to look with the green, but it honestly didn't look too bad. Now with the stock, we've got an Allen key fitment here, we've got an Allen key fitment here. What we can actually do first, is it a 4, is it a 3, is it a 2, is it a 1? It's a 3mm. So we can pull this screw, which sort of acts as a pin. It's basically your push button for the stock. We push out the little hinge, not the hinge, the latch. That latch goes in on this side, and with this screw, you're screwing into metal, so it's a little bit more forgiving. Just screw it in until it stops, like that. Make sure it actuates, which it does. The other one is what keeps the stock onto the lower. So we'll wind this one out here. If you do it like this, do them one at a time, you won't get them mixed up. It's difficult to get them mixed up, but in case you take it apart and you come back to it, the way that you can tell with these lowers, with the screws, so this one has a pointed tip on it. That is for the stock itself. So we can load this into place, get this ready, push this pin through the stock like that, and we're going to give a frontwards force as we turn it to get the thread started, which it's not wanting to do. Why aren't you going in? You're not quite centered. Should be in the right position. You have to apply quite a bit of force with this one to get it started. Just requiring a lot of force to push it for it to actually want to thread in. Go till it stops. And that is your stock on there. Now this will fold as normal. I think it doesn't quite, so it folds, but the hybrid lower does actually get in the way, so it won't let it latch. So this part gets in the way, so although you can fold it, it doesn't actually latch into place, which I'm not too fussed about. And there it is, it's ready to go. That was a bit of a workout towards the end there. So that's the hybrid lower fitted. And of course, we're going to shoot it.
One eternity later.
Now, since that original assembly video was recorded, a substantial amount of time has passed. This was much earlier in the year, because I had a couple of issues. Now, the first issue that I had with this hybrid kit was it just would not function. So sometimes it would shoot, other times the gun would just run away doing like quarter cycles, and you just couldn't stop it unless you grabbed the bolt and, you know, racked it back to stop it. So during that time, Tapp actually sent me a replacement lower. Now this one does have improvements. So the original one had a fixed rail here. With the newer version, you do get the option, you see if I can find it here, to have a grip. Can't quite see it offhand, but they do a grip for it, so it's more like the other version of the MP9 has a grip there. So I've just put the rail version back on and reassembled it. It's exactly the same process of assembly. It's a bit of a ball ache. The only thing I will say, as well as the firing issue I had on this, I also had a breakage. I don't know if you can see that at the back, just there where it's thin. This one hasn't broken just yet. It looks like they've changed the design. So if you see at the back here, instead of this coming round, in fact, looking at it, it looks like that part has broke off as well. So there is a failure point here. So you see how this is still there? This little corner. On this one, it's missing. So that might have broke off. It looks like it has broke off. But the other thing that I will say on the newer version was on this first one that I received, the stock was really nice and tight. On this later one that was sent, the stock is really, really loose. So, but apart from that, let's get to shooting it. It's been on the back burner for a while because there's been so much going on, as you'll all be apparent now. But the real difference, why I wanted to get this video out as soon as possible now, is we've got another version of the MP9 turn up, which is the Maruyama/VFC one. And I wanted to get this video done. So we've got airline hooked up to it now. This is at 80 PSI, and we'll step it up if we need to. So we're on semi-auto. Does seem a little bit weak. So what we'll do, we'll just dial it up to 100. So we're now at 100 PSI. And then what you would do, the premise of this hybrid kit is you could just rinse this as you want, but you can keep it fed with ARP magazines. Now, like I said earlier in the video, I've opted to go for these G&G ones because they're quad stack. And the reason, you get 70 rounds, and with it fitted into the MP9, it kind of resembles the standard length of the 48 round magazines. I do have one of these 170 rounders, which fits and will feed fine, but it sticks out so far, it's just ridiculous. It's really going to mess up your mobility and your ergonomics of the kit. So you put this in there. We can, of course, try a bit of auto as well. See if this works. This is where it wouldn't work before. And now it seems to work. So on that lower, full auto was just, it wouldn't work at all. The stock still gets blocked from folding, so you can kind of like situate it in place, but it's not going to stay where it is. The biggest issue I have with this new lower though is just how loose the stock is now. On that lower, it was very tight. So we can of course remove the suppressor as well. Makes it a lot louder because you've got this sort of loudener on the front of these MP9s. They're renowned for being loud. So you should, with this kit, be able to just rinse auto in your outdoor games. Use these 70 round mags, which gives you more than what you would on a gas blowback anyway. If you are out and about outdoors, these probably won't be as of a hindrance. Now, what I will say on both of these kits is there's a significant gap between the upper and lower. It doesn't seem to mess with the function, but it's just worth noting that this is going to be a much looser fit. So in your outdoor games, you can use one of these 170s and you know, rinse your ammo. So took a bit of time to get this video out, of course, but that is the hybrid lower for the MP9 from Tapp Airsoft. This was, you know, sent to me free of charge. There's nothing that they've said that I have to say good or bad things about it. And during this course, like I say, their customer service with me so far. Now, I didn't purchase these kits, but it's been pretty good. I said I've got a problem with it, doesn't work, and that was this one, and they sent out a new one. Now, I seem to think the issues with it not firing were to do with this mag section here. The downside to this kit is it's a ball ache to put together and take apart. So you just need to keep that in mind, but hopefully the guide has helped you if you decide to pick one of these up. And of course we could put all our standard MP9 accessories on there. So this is going to be great if you're wanting to run MP9 but you don't want to, you know, stick with a 48 round mags, or you want to do a lot of full auto. This is going to be for you. The airline coming out the back there, you may run into a bit of an issue with entanglement with your slings and stuff if you're using them. It's not as bad as what it looks like. It doesn't really make it any more uncomfortable. But yeah, that's the Tapp hybrid lower for the MP9. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'm probably just going to try and shim this out. I might just add something to the stock here so it's got a bit of compression on that button, which might kink it out. It's going to kink it out to one side slightly, but I'd rather that than have this super loose, because when you're sort of shouldering it, if you've got that movement like I have now, it's just a massive pet peeve of mine, and I really don't like it. So, but the kit itself, now it's working, we can do some further testing with it, which I'll be doing over the course of the next few weeks, and I'll be able to come back and tell you how I've got on with this thing. Is it air hungry? Who knows? So thanks for tuning this long video. I know it's a super long one. It's got the instructions in there, or you can follow it along putting this all together if you're stuck and you need a bit of help. But there it is. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Join the Air Precision Discord, links in the description. And as always, from me and Bench, we'll be seeing you in the next one.